Hey everyone, it's Joe Waxman, and I'm back with another video. Today, I would like to talk about Capricorn and Capricorn Ascendant, all about Capricorn and Capricorn Ascendant. So, Capricorn is the 10th sign. It's Cardinal Earth, and it's ruled by Saturn, and it's the third and final Earth sign of the zodiac. So, what does 10 signify? First of all, the main thing is we know that it's a very round number, and we have 10 fingers, 10 toes, 2 5s. So if we break it down, it's not a prime number. It's 2 5s essentially. So Leo times 2, and that's actually significant because what we start in Leo, we finish in Capricorn, and what that is the sort of leadership. In fact, we started in Aries. Really, Aries is the original sort of leader. It's the leader of the zodiac. In fact, it's the whole start. It's the initiator of the zodiac. We started in Aries, but then we come to Leo, and we have a more full rulership in Leo. Leo wants to be king. Leo wants to lead. Leo leads by, in a sense, almost like I've said before, like royalty leads, like kingship, queenship, just by sort of egotistical, like mandate, like fiat, almost like I rule because I rule. That's why I rule. So just let me rule, And then Capricorn is a more develop mature sense of leadership, of ruling, other than Aries. Aries is the rulership by aggression. Leo is the rulership by sort of brightness, the brightness of the sun, the brightness of the ego, the confidence. And then Capricorn's rulership by authority, right? It's rulership by like doing the hard work, by climbing that mountain, okay? So that's why it's 2 5s, and that's why it's 1 and 0, whereas Aries is just 1. So it's got an extra 0 there to signify it's on another level. So between Aries, Leo, and then Capricorn, Capricorn's the height, the maturity of leadership, right? All three are leaders, but Capricorn's the most mature out of those leadership. And the way I like to signify is like Leo's like the royalty, obviously, and Capricorn's like the ones who are actually making the rules. These are the CEOs, the executives, the law enforcers, Jupiter's the law maker, but Saturn's the law enforcer. So Saturn's the final arbiter, the judge, the jury, the police, the executives, the ones who are enforcing the law, mandating the law, and not creating the law, but keeping the law intact. They're the final limitations. The limit on the material world. They're the ceiling, if you will, the glass ceiling, I guess you could say. And then after that comes Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, right? And they're outside the law. They're outside the rules. They're outside the earthly realm. We can't even see them with the naked eye. So I just want to let's look at some images for number 10 to really understand the significance of what it means. So I'm going to share my screen. And here we have a decagon, and you can see it's neatly divided up into 10 even pieces, 36 degrees each, which is interesting because we have the 3 and the 6. I don't know, make of that what you will. It's just a nice round number. And then the opposite angle, 144, together they make 180. But yeah, that's one image, decagon, and it's very close to a circle. I mean, the higher we get, the more circular it gets. Now here's a decagram. 10-pointed star, very interesting. Easily divisible as 10 is, in half by 2, 2 and 5. And here we have another decagram. This is two pentagons put together, juxtaposed upon each other. So there's two different ways, and we can only do this with the non-prime numbers, like for what, 5, 7, and 11. We don't have the two. We can't divide it by 2, so we won't have like this different way of creating the stars. We can do that with only the divisible by 2, right? If you understand what I'm saying. Like for number 8, we can have 2 squares juxtaposed upon each other, and we'll see the same thing for number 12, Pisces. So these are just images to signify the Capricornian, the feeling, the vibrational quality of Capricorn. You can feel it this way. So it's good to include that when pondering Capricorn influence. Okay, stop sharing my screen. All right, so Capricorn, the image of the Capricorn is the sea goat, and that's significant. Why? Because it's half fish, half goat. So where does the fish live? The fish lives in water, and water always seeks the bottom. And where does the goat live? The goat lives in the mountain, way up top. So here we're juxtaposing 2 different animals in one. What it signifies is the Capricornian effort to go from the bottom to the top, from the water to the mountaintop. That is essentially the essence of Capricorn. The starting out very weak and Saturnian. Saturn's the negative influence that says, no, you suck, you can't do that, you're not good enough, like, don't even bother. But it challenges us and pushes us to strive to become better. This is the essence of Saturn. Okay, so from the bottom to the top. I think that's a Drake song, but this is really what he's describing Saturn and Capricorn essentially. So that's why it's the sea goat. It's that from the bottom to the top of the mountain where Capricorn ends up. And this is why a lot of times a lot of young Capricorns are like, oh, I read Capricorn's description and it doesn't suit me at all. Something's wrong with astrology. No, nothing's wrong with astrology. You're just a young Capricorn and you have not achieved, you're still in the water phase, you're in the ocean, you're in the sea, you're in your tadpole phase of the sea goat. You haven't even climbed to the top yet. So, and that's the same for all the signs. When they're youthful, when they're young, they don't, because planets mature at different times. And so when a planet is maturing, it can become activated, and therefore we take on different qualities at different times. I remember when I was younger, I was like, I don't feel like a Gemini at all. This Western astrology, ooh, weird nonsense, like I'm not Gemini, I'm something else. And I was going through my different phases, and it didn't really make sense to me. But I'm very Gemini. You just have to grow up. That's all that is. Like, so whenever anyone says, I don't feel like my sun sign, you're just not old enough. That's all. So it's Cardinal Earth. So the cardinal represents the initiating quality, same as Aries. Aries has that initiating fire. Cancer is initiating water. Libra is initiating air. And Capricorn's initiating earth, initiating practicality. Earth is material. Earth is stable, practical. And yeah, it's just concerned with building. With Cardinal Earth, it's almost like you get something like a brick. What are you going to do with a brick? You can throw it at somebody's head or throw it against the window and break it, or you can build stuff. And that's really what Capricorn is good for, is building. That's that from the bottom to the top, building. Okay. As Saturn represents time. So Capricorn again is that time, the taking time to build something, to develop, to grow in material way. A lot of times Capricorns are obviously concerned with material success. I mean, that's one of the main significations, you know, doing like succeeding in life, doing well in life, making that money, getting that recognition, getting that promotion, right? Discipline, that comes with time again. It's not something that Capricorns are necessarily good at right away, but there's that theme again of the ego from the bottom to the top. You don't start out, you know, a master. You don't start out a master. You don't start out successful. You don't start out at the top of the mountain. It doesn't work that way. You're not going to start out disciplined. You learn discipline over time. Saturns can be cold. Capricorn can be cold, or appear cold at least anyway, because there's an inability to express oneself in Capricorn. Expression, emotional expression is difficult. And it's not saying that Capricorns don't have feelings, whether it's Capricorn Sun, Capricorn Moon, Capricorn Ascendant. Of course they do. It's just, it's not there. The world of the emotions is not really very strong with Capricorn, especially as it matures into itself. And different, you know, depending, here we're talking about the archetype. We're not focusing on individuals. I know some people are out there who are like, I'm emotional, I have feelings, I express my feelings, I'm a Capricorn. Yeah, okay, well, you have more than one planet, and we're not talking about individuals here, we're just talking about archetypes. So there. The archetype of Capricorn is not emotionally expressive. It's just not. And yes, there are going to be people with especially young Capricorns, even Capricorn stelliums, who can appear emotional. It's mostly because they're young. Again, Capricorn can be very doubting and rejecting and closed-minded and dogmatic. Again, that's the Saturn influence, that it wants to vet everything before it accepts it. And that's actually a good quality, as long as it's not to the extreme. Like, you shouldn't just like have this, you know, open-minded, well, shouldn't. I mean, this is like for mature, like you don't just want to accept everything and just like, you know, some guy on the street saying, hey, try this stuff, you know, it's like, you know, it could be selling you crack or whatever, who knows, I don't know. I mean, you don't want to just accept things without testing them, without vetting them, because that's naive. So Capricorns are not naive, mature Capricorn. You know, they're not going to be naive. They're not going to be gullible. They're going to be doubting, and that's a healthy quality, as long as it's not too extreme. As long as it's not like doubting in the face of like, you know, concrete evidence. You want to accept what is properly, you know, substantiated, but otherwise we should have natural doubting quality. Capricorns can feel weak inside because, again, that Saturnian influence that says you're not good enough, you can't do it, you're not strong enough, you're not smart enough, you're not capable enough, you're not qualified, you haven't done the work, you haven't, you know, nobody's going to accept you, nobody's going to, you know, think you're that great or anything. Like, that's all Saturn, and that's the natural feeling inside of Capricorn is just, and that's what pushes them to constantly work better and harder and strive and reach for the top. That's the climbing of the mountain, right? All that internal doubt, self-doubt, and feeling not good enough, feeling weak, that drives them to be hardworking and to climb up that mountain. Naturally, they can be pessimistic for the same reason. It's just the Saturnian heaviness of always negating everything, and everything's an effort. And it's like, oh my God, like so much work, so much effort just to succeed in life, just to get what I want, just to feel okay about myself, you know? And, you know, they can become emotionally repressed because, you know, if expressing emotions is not easy, then it's just easy to repress the emotions. It's a very unhealthy way to go about it. But it's probably quite common with Capricorn placements. Repression, emotional repression, just don't deal with it. It's difficult, so let's not deal with it. We're just gonna, you know, put our nose in, you know, into work and just keep our head down and keep chugging along. They can develop problems because of that emotional repression. And they can appear very strong, very mature, very authoritarian, very on top of things, in control. And this can be opposite of the way they feel inside. And what fuels them is again that weakness, that doubt, that Saturnian voice inside their head that says you're not good enough, you don't really deserve any of this, so you gotta prove yourself, you gotta work harder, right? And inevitably that makes them very mature and capable. I mean, being capable is a double-edged sword, because it depends how you use it. Because if somebody's evil-minded but they're incapable, they're harmless, right? Who cares? Maybe they can, jack a car or whatever, but they're not going to hurt many people. But if somebody's capable and they're evil-minded, that's somebody who can really do damage. And Capricorns end up being capable. They don't start out being capable, but they end up being very capable. So, of course, a good-minded, good-hearted Capricorn who wants to do well, can also do tremendous good for the world because of their ability for the capability, meaning that they're effective, that they can have effect in the world. They can set out to do something and achieve that. At the same token, they can be equally as destructive because of their ability to be capable in the world. We're really talking about the energy that is most successful in the world. The most worldly capable sign is Capricorn. And they are success driven, obviously, and they make natural leaders, like I said. They can be incredibly responsible, especially a mature Capricorn. That's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about the immature Capricorn. And they're practical, and they're ambitious, and they're fatherly. It's a masculine sign. It's the stereotypical masculine fatherly sign. Capricorn represents the father. So a good Capricorn is naturally going to have this fatherly quality where they're looking out for other people. They're going to take, they're caretakers naturally. They're going to take care of their own, take care of the people that come underneath them. So that's essentially Capricorn, the basic nature of Capricorn. So I want to now share my screen again, and we're going to look at the qualities according to the Capricorn chart on the ascendant. Now, mind you, I have to say this every time, and I don't think people still get it, but I'm going to keep saying it. When I'm talking about Capricorn Ascendant, it's not just Capricorn Ascendant. This can be for a Capricorn Sun, a Capricorn Moon, Capricorn Venus, Capricorn Mars, Capricorn Jupiter, Capricorn anything. Why? Because you can put any planet on the ascendant, make any planet on the ascendant, and look at all the planets from relative to that. If we had a Jupiter in Capricorn, for example, we can make a Jupiter chart, and the second house would be Aquarius, the third house would be Pisces, and so forth and so on. We can do that for every planet to understand the nature and how it's influencing the chart and the other planets as a whole, right? We just normally look at the ascendant chart, but we can look at it. We can look at the moon chart, and here this is Gwen Stefani's, by the way, and I just did her chart. But we could make a moon chart, and here it would be we'd put it Cancer on the ascendant. You got it. Anyway, by the way, there are not that many people with Capricorn ascendant who are famous. Funnily enough, maybe more in business, maybe more in like CEOs, executives, things like that, but not that many famous people, not that many famous celebrities, less than other signs. Could be because, and I forgot to mention this, there's a certain shyness that comes with Capricorn. Again, that fear, that doubt, that Saturn quality. But Gwen Stefani sure does not seem shy, and a lot of Capricorns are not shy, so that's just, potential anyway. So everything applies to that I mentioned about Capricorn for the ascendant. Second house, also Saturn rule, but with the addition of Aquarius. And I take both modern and traditional rulers into account because I think they both have an influence. I think the traditional rulers play more physical role, and the modern outer planets, they play more energetic, spiritual influence. So anyway, second house ruled by Aquarius, it's still Saturn ruled, but so here their knowledge can be very scientific, because the second house is wealth and assets and family, but also knowledge too. So they can very scientific knowledge. They can be because Saturn here is that they can be very concerned with money, obviously, because it's the same planet as their self. So there's a natural resonance here with Aquarius. So money is very important to them. They can have quite an eclectic family. Their investments can be very can go one of two ways. It can be very Saturnian, so very traditional, or out of the box, because Aquarius, they could be invest in what's called alt investments, alternative investments. Like that could be anything from like, gold and silver, or real estate, or cryptocurrencies, commodities, anything like alternative like that. They'd be interested in putting their money in. What else? Yeah, like I said, very scientific knowledge, eclectic family, and yeah, that's pretty much it. The Saturnian combination of their ascendant ruler and second house makes them, very tied into their wealth, into their assets, into their money. Third house Pisces is really an interesting placement, and probably represents somewhat of a challenge. Jupiter rules Pisces along with Neptune, but Jupiter is also ruling the 12th house, which we'll get to later. But it's carrying some of that influence in here, and Pisces represents the 12th house in the natural zodiac anyway. Third house represents the intellect. It represents siblings and neighbors, short distance travel, neighborhood. Pisces, and here what's interesting is that because Mercury traditionally rules the third house, it rules the sign of Gemini in the natural zodiac. I mean, natural zodiac is Gemini ruled in the third house. And it's debilitated in Pisces. Mercury's debilitated in Pisces. So this represents somewhat of a conflict where their intellect is not well aspected here. Pisces, as we know, is very spiritual and creative. And a spiritual creative intellect is good if you're trying to be a psychic or an artist or something like that, but not if you're trying to be more analytical, more intellectually minded, right? You often see Pisces, Mercury, Gemini combinations with like psychics. Like you'll see, like especially Mercury and Pisces, you'll see that. But yeah, so this represents somewhat of a conflict, and it's going to be less helpful if they're trying to be an intellectual, and we'll see some conflictual things with that. It's not, I'm not saying that Capricorns are intellectually challenged, but this represents an insecurity for sure, but it also represents an opportunity to be more spiritually and psychically attuned. And we do see that Capricorn is not wholly a materialistic planet. There are spiritual leaders who are Capricorn. Alan Watts is one of them. He was a Capricorn. And he was a Capricorn, not ascendant sun, but his third from the sun, if we made a sun chart, third from the sun would be Pisces. So anyway, and there can be missing, like siblings can be missing here. Aquarius second house also shows can be detached from the family, because Aquarius is very freedom oriented. So there can be detachment from the family. And here siblings can be missing because Pisces has that element of getting lost, things getting lost, things going missing. Third house here could also lead to alcohol addiction, because the third house is dealing with the intellect. So Pisces intellect can lead to alcoholism. And this is where that might play in. And Capricorns do have that tendency. A lot of signs do. I mean, come on, it's quite common, but there is the propensity for Capricorn placements to have indulgence in alcohol or drugs or escapism in general. But or it could be the opposite. They could be very artistic and creative and spiritually minded. Aries on the 4th house. It's difficult. It shows a lot of restlessness at home. This is great for moving around, moving house, moving from place to place. So they could be travelers naturally, or they could be into real estate because Mars and Aries are great for real estate. They could be builders themselves. They could be actual construction workers, building houses themselves. Or if they're not building houses themselves, they could be involved in real estate, or they could just really like building up their house, adding additions to their house. They can be restless at home. They can like working out at home. They might have a home gym, or whenever they're home, they're just constantly working out, or they're just being very argumentative and bossy at home. Any way you put it, Aries is going to be in the 4th house. Not a very relaxed position to be in, but could be good for some things. Again, like real estate, like building an empire, things like that. Taurus in the 5th house is very creative, right? And that kind of matches up with this Pisces in the 3rd house. These people can be artists. They can be very creative. They can have lots of children. They can be very, fatherly, right? A father wants to have children. A father actually denotes having children. So yeah, they can have lots of children. They can be artists. They can be very creative. They can be good with money. I mean, Taurus is the sign of finance. So and 5th house is the house of speculative investments. So they can be investors. They can be gamblers. They can be involved in any kind of speculative investment adventure, or like financial education, financial training, things like that. Right? This is a very creative, beneficial sign for Capricorns, because it's also obviously it's trine to the ascendant. Gemini in the 6th house. So here is kind of in opposition, or not opposition, contradictory to the Pisces 3rd house. Here the intellect shines because 6th house is the natural house of Virgo, and the 6th house is great for the daily mundane routine, working in a job. Here they can be managers, they can be writers or speakers or communicators, organizers. They can be executives or involved in the media. And they can be very, very intellectual at work. And so there's this not conflict, but contradiction here. This can also be lawyers, because Gemini's communication in 6th house is dealing with enemies. Yes, enemies. Now, enemies. So they love to argue, and they can be great in debates, because Gemini naturally is the speaker, the communicator, writing, speaking, all that, and the intellect. And 6th house is enemies, and also medicine, healing. They can be doctors, things like that. Anything that involves the intellect with jobs and conflict resolution, health, healing, 6th house, things like that. Right. So here their intellect shines, and we're going to see it again in the 9th house. Cancer on the descendant in the 7th house shows that they're going to attract a very motherly, mature, caring partner, ideally. And here we have the classical male-female relationship, where this represents the masculine side of things, and here we have the more feminine side of things, both mature, the father, the mother. It's a very nuclear family relationship type of thing, where they're both going to come together and have lots of kids, right? They attract mature feminine partners. If it's a woman, with a Capricorn, which it happens, Gwen Stefani here, they're going to attract very caring, loving man, mature, affectionate, caring, loving man. Nothing wrong with that. Eighth house in Leo. So this is where they shine, in the house of power, in the house of shared resources. Wherever there's Leo in the chart, that's where there's natural stardom, right? Natural recognition, star quality, fame even. So they can be recognized for their financial abilities, you know, like on the stock market, or like anything having to do with financial research, or, you know, digging deep for finances, controlling, you know, wealth fund, you know, hedge fund manager, any of that stuff, you know, bankers, institution, like taxes, also like, you know, anything having to do with sex or death, or the occult could well as, you know, also deal with that. And we know like Saturn and Capricorn has very strong ties to you know, the death side of things. Like Scorpio and Capricorn are the two signs that people are most afraid of, because of this eighth house connection. Like Capricorn just can really do well with all the eighth house scorpionic themes of sex, death, other people's money, power, control. They both love that sort of thing. And it just, you know, just the power, you know, makes their ego swell. They love it. And don't ever underestimate the eighth house, because it is the house of power. Yes, it comes with a tremendous price, but over time it can be tremendously powerful. It is a malefic house, but a very powerful house. The most powerful house, in fact. As far as like sheer power, I'd say, like, I mean, when we talk about the angles, these are the most influential houses. But the eighth house, as far as like raw power, is very strong. If you can withstand the turbulence, it's a very turbulent house as well. So the ninth house is Virgo, and these people, through efforts, because Virgo, again, is very hardworking, and here they need to work for it, but they can become masters, especially if they go to like higher level studies. Virgo, they can be like in health, or you know, law, or any academic subject, literature, anything mercurial, anything with the intellect. They can go get their PhD, their master's, their doctorate, anything like that. And they'll do excellent. They'll do excellent students, excellent high-level students. They'll go to the highest levels, because Virgo really wants to work a lot, like just like Capricorn. And they have that, it's the trine again, that practicality. It's just hard work, and they'll just develop their intellect to the utmost degree, right? They can make them the highest students. If it goes into philosophy or religion, these will be the very hard-nosed, puritanical preachers and priests and philosophers who are just like overly rigid in their approach, overly puritanical. Yeah, just overly dogmatic, because that's the negative side of Virgo. If it's really an evolved Virgo, then they can be more you know, balanced in their approach. They're not going to be overly critical and puritanical if they're more into the religious philosophy side of things. You know, then it can take a more natural approach, you know, concerned with, you know, health and healing, and being the wisdom of nature, because it still is an earth sign. So it's still carrying in that you know, earthy quality. You know, the priestess, the symbol of Virgo is the priestess, and she has herbs in one hand and grain in the other. So she's a natural healer. So they can take philosophy into the realms of healing, or religion into healing. And again, of course, they can study healing on a high level, you know, medical, Western medical, or a naturopath type. You know, they could go the route of natural healing, study like food medicine, herbal medicine, things like that. All of that's possible. And here, the 10th house, this is a very strong house for Capricorn because Saturn is exalted in Libra, right? So we have, the first house, obviously, but the second house, because that's Saturn's other house of rule, which is, wealth. So we know Saturn deals with wealth. And here, the sign of its exaltation, naturally 10th house. And so here we can have, there can be a lawyer or a judge, because Saturn's exaltation with that's where we have like the justice, the highest justice, where Saturn can really stretch its legs and really reach its utmost highest potential as that balance, that judge in Libra. Or we can go like the other way of like business, sales, marketing, entrepreneurship. Libra does really well with that. It does well in any of the arts or like beauty or fashion, things like that. Libra is just it's just great with all the social things, and so all of that would do excellent. The career in general would do very well for Capricorn naturally. 11th house in Scorpio, so their friend circles are going to be well vetted. They're not going to let just anyone into their friendship circles. You're not just going to be a Capricorn's friend, just, like, I don't know where. They got to make sure that you are trustworthy and that you are, capable and worthy of being their friend. And then you can be in their inner circle. They can also belong to secret societies, occult groups, magic groups, and you're probably not going to know that because it'll be secret. But these are the type of people that can be Freemasons, or others belong to any other secret societies. They could belong to astrology groups, magical groups, occult groups, sex groups, or any of the mystical Scorpio, groups, or like investment groups. Could deal with like money, shared resources, things like that. They might put their money into like hedge funds, because that's like a group thing as well. So all the Scorpionic things, but it's going to be very well guarded, very well protected. All of their friendship things are, because they're all water. They're not. You're not just going to be willy-nilly going to be a friend of a Capricorn. You can be like, you can be a casual friend. Like it might be like, because Pisces is very open and will let anyone in. So you can be like one of their street friends, but you're not going to be one of their real friends unless they like you and let you in. And finally, Sagittarius is in the 12th house. And here we really get to the crux of Capricorn, because Sagittarius is Jupiter's home sign. And so Jupiter represents faith in life, and it represents optimism, and it represents achievement, the achievement over Scorpio. It's like the battle, whereas Scorpio, we have the battle over the ego, and Sagittarius represents the success over the ego. But the success over the ego here, the celebration, the party, is lost to Capricorn. The faith in life is lost to Capricorn. So we're going through life here with the loss of Jupiter, in essence. The faith, the optimism, the wisdom, it's all buried in the 12th house. So here we can see why Capricorn can be so materialistic, because the spiritual quality, the essence of Jupiter is hidden in their 12th house. And so Capricorn really seeks materialism, and they're climbing the ladder of success, climbing that mountain, because they don't have direct access to the Jupiterian faith and wisdom and abundance in life. They don't feel abundance. They don't feel wealth, because Jupiter is hidden. Sagittarius is hidden. And so they go through life without that. They feel very cold. meaningless. Life feels meaningless inside for Capricorn. So what happens is that they climb that ladder hoping to find Jupiter and Sagittarius in their success, in their material success. And inevitably, they're not going to find it there. But what they have to do is find it within in their own internal psyche, in their own internal subconscious. And that's the ultimate realization for Capricorn, is finding that Jupiter within their own psyche. It was there all along, but it's not in the material world. It's not in raking up tons of money, and it's not in becoming, the CEO or the boss, or starting a business and having that material success. Yeah, it's going to be worth something, but it's not going to fulfill the empty void that they feel inside with this lack of Jupiter, with this lack of faith. And me telling this, you hear that you tell Capricorn this, like, whatever. Right? They're going to do their thing. They're going to chase that money. They're going to chase that success. Inevitably, they're not going to be happy. They're not going to be satisfied unless they find that Jupiter, that Sagittarius. That's what they're searching for. That's the real drive behind the Capricorn's constant, endless push to achieve. That's their motivation, their hidden motivation to climb the mountain. It's the Sagittarius, the Jupiter. They're longing for that spiritual meaning. They don't feel meaning in life. So that's why they need to chase the dollar, chase the top of the mountain, chase that success. That's what it's all about, Jupiter, Sagittarius. So yeah, they need to find that, and they're only going to find it through their own efforts. Nobody can tell them that this is what that, oh, you're just missing Jupiter, Sagittarius, you're missing spirituality. They might have spirituality, and they might be very, very attached to their spirituality, but it's not going to mean enough for them unless they discover the heart of it, which is in their 12th house, the subconscious. That's where they're going to really find the core of their spiritual longing. Because sometimes you do see very religious, Capricorns, but they're going about it in a very Virgo way, very puritanical way. It's very heady and intellectually driven, because it's Mercury. We need Mercury, but it's not. Jupiter is opposite Mercury, so they're going about it in not the highest way. It's the lower way. It's the lower mind, thinking that trying to be the overly puritanical side of Mercury. And that's not a criticism. I'm not trying to criticize it, but the highest realization of Capricorn is with Jupiter and Sagittarius. It's the deep spirituality, right? So there you have it. That is Capricorn in a nutshell for you. And if you enjoy this content, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share. And go to my website, macroastrology.com, to book a reading. And that's it for now. I will be back soon with some more astrology mini readings. And if you have any suggestions for me, you can write it down below as far as people you'd like me to do a mini reading for. And yeah, I'm going to do Aquarius next. So look out for that. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.